All right, let's just jump right into this explainer. Today, we're going to objectively unpack some highly controversial, radically unfiltered perspectives on human relationships and evolutionary psychology. We're looking at the world through the lens of Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who completely dared to confront the uncomfortable, invisible laws that govern human interaction. Now, whether you find these theories fascinating or completely provocative, our goal here is simply to neutrally examine the source material, lay out the facts, and understand the really deep psychological arguments being made.
Picture this, because the inciting incident that kicks off our entire analysis is intensely dramatic. In 1889, on a freezing morning in Turin, Italy, Nietzsche witnessed a coachman brutally whipping a horse. In a moment that literally changed history, he threw his arms around the animal and completely broke down. That severe mental collapse forever altered his view on the cruel realities of human nature. But rather than entirely destroying him, the source suggests this agony actually forged a profound, almost terrifyingly clear philosophical insight over his final 10 years.
So here's our roadmap for exploring these deep evolutionary concepts today. We'll start with Nietzsche's core dark truth, rethink the concept of loyalty as a survival strategy, compare the mechanics of male and female loyalty, dive into the biology of hypergamy, deconstruct the myth of unconditional love, and finally look at his empowering strategy for personal growth. Okay, Section 1, Nietzsche's dark truth, which he observed over 150 years ago.
Crazy enough, despite that total mental breakdown we just talked about, the guy produced some absolute masterpieces that changed the world. We're talking works like Beyond Good and Evil, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, and The Will to Power. In these pages, he nakedly exposed human character and power dynamics. He didn't just write about abstract concepts, He redefined the true meanings of love and loyalty by stripping away all those polite societal norms to reveal the raw, often very uncomfortable psychological machinery operating right beneath the surface.
Moving right along to Section 2, Loyalty, a Survival Strategy. Time to completely rethink loyalty. We are constantly taught by society that loyalty is this sacred moral virtue, right? Like it's a pure emotional obligation. Well, Nietzsche argues that it is nothing of the sort. Instead, the theory posits that loyalty is actually a highly strategic survival mechanism. It is a cold, subconscious calculation based entirely on an individual's current position, their goals, and their environment. Think of it like an invisible math equation our brains are constantly running in the background just to ensure our own self-preservation.
Before we go any further, just ask yourself right now, what is loyalty, really? Is your personal concept based on a romanticized fairy tale, or are you starting to see how it might fundamentally be tied to your own subconscious survival needs?
Which brings us to Section 3, Male and Female Loyalty, looking at the evolutionary differences.
The source points out a pretty stark contrast here. On one side, we have male loyalty, which is described as being deeply driven by ego, honor, self-image, and the sheer weight of a promise. It's all about a man standing by his word to maintain his core identity. On the flip side, female loyalty is described in these theories as highly conditional. The argument is that it's biologically programmed to be driven by shifting feelings, the need for security, and a natural attraction to power.
Think about the strict, unbreakable laws of nature for a second. Water inevitably flows downwards, right? Fire always rises upwards. Well, the source argues that female loyalty has a natural, inherent direction too. It inevitably flows towards strength, power, and security. And just like a physical element, if it encounters weakness or insecurity, that flow immediately stalls. It's framed here not as some sort of moral failing, but literally as a rigid law of nature.
All right, Section 4, Hypergamy and Evolution, focusing on our biological instincts. So let's talk about hypergamy. This is an inherent evolutionary instinct. Over thousands of years, the human brain developed this mechanism to constantly seek out and select the absolutely most powerful, capable, and resourceful partner available. Back in the jungle era, choosing the strongest protector wasn't just a preference, it was literal life or death. The source argues this intense survival instinct is hardwired into human DNA and hasn't just magically disappeared simply because we built modern cities. Obviously, the markers of survival have evolved. Today, physical strength and the ability to fend off a predator translate directly into modern attributes. We're talking status, wealth, social power, confidence, ambition, and, crucially, having options. If you possess these traits, you represent security and survival in the modern world. That makes you a highly valuable and irreplaceable partner in the subconscious mind.
There's a pretty harsh quote derived from these theories that sums this up perfectly. A woman's love is not about the man, it is about what the man represents.
This really encapsulates the brutal reality of the source's argument. The attraction is tethered entirely to the strong, successful, capable version of yourself that you present to the world. If you falter, become deeply insecure, or that specific version breaks down, the underlying attraction and loyalty break right along with it.
Next up, Section 5, the myth of unconditional love, or as they call it, a beautiful lie.
You know the classic movie trope? The cinema myth tells us, "I will love you always, through poverty, illness, and danger." Well, Nietzsche reportedly laughed at this overly romanticized cinematic idea. He viewed the whole concept of completely unconditional love as a beautiful lie. It's basically a comforting story we tell ourselves to soothe our anxieties about the fragile, highly conditional nature of real, everyday human connection.
To prove exactly how conditional things really are, the source breaks down the specific conditions required by both sexes. Here are the 4 pillars for men: respect, admiration, physical attraction, and peace. According to this framework, a man's loyalty and commitment remain steadfast only as long as these 4 foundational pillars are actively being met in his relationship. If you take even one away, the entire foundation starts to crumble.
On the flip side, a woman requires an entirely different set of conditions to maintain that biological loyalty. She needs security, emotional intensity, growth, and, this is the big one, the continuous feeling of making the right choice. The source emphasizes that the very second she genuinely doubts she made the correct choice in a partner, that biological illusion of love shatters, and the flow of loyalty completely redirects.
Finally, Section 6, become your best version, looking at a truly empowering strategy.
Now, Nietzsche's ultimate empowering solution to all of this complexity is remarkably simple but super profound, captured in this famous quote, "Become who you are." He basically advises that instead of complaining about the harsh, unyielding laws of human nature, you must focus relentlessly on elevating your mind, your body, and your resources to reach your absolute highest potential.
It's literally a domino effect. Step 1, building your strength naturally brings you options. Step 2, having those options brings true independence. Step 3, that independence creates deep, unshakable confidence. And finally, Step 4, that genuine confidence naturally and effortlessly brings the attraction and loyalty you desire. It just proves that focusing on your own excellence naturally eliminates the neediness that tends to destroy relationships.
So the absolute key takeaway here is vital. Do not chase love. If the laws of human dynamics naturally flow towards strength and security, then your job is simply to align with nature's flow. Build your empire, cultivate your own power, and let love come to you. When you are a powerful, self-reliant player in the game of life, you don't need to desperately chase affection. You simply command it by virtue of your existence and the sheer value you bring to the table.
And hey, when you do inevitably face setbacks, remember perhaps Nietzsche's most famous axiom of all: what does not kill me makes me stronger. Heartbreak, betrayal, and relationship failures absolutely aren't the end of your story. They are simply your greatest teachers. They are the fire that forges you, forcing you to adapt, overcome, and evolve into a significantly wiser and more resilient individual.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. Now that you've seen the raw, totally unfiltered mechanics of human nature, the choice is entirely yours. Are you going to remain a frustrated victim of the game, ignoring the rules, or will you use this structural knowledge to play it strategically? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I really encourage you to keep questioning the invisible dynamics playing out in your own life.